Am I the antagonist for insisting on splitting the dinner bill? My child is part of a sports team, and after big events, we usually celebrate at a restaurant as a group. The party typically includes the children who competed, the coaches from that day, and the parents of the competing children. Normally, the parents split the bill evenly and cover the cost of the 2 or 3 coaches. This has been the usual practice for years. Sometimes there may be a child without a parent or an extra assistant coach who didn't coach, and us parents have covered their costs. Recently, we have noticed more people joining our after-event dinners. There are kids without parents, former coaches, assistant coaches who are not part of the coaching team that day, and random adult team members. The expectation is that the same group of parents will still split the bill and cover the entire group's cost. On one occasion, only one other parent and I showed up, and we had to split a $700 bill between the 2 of us. We were really upset about this, and I voiced that it was not fair. I'm not sure if it's a cultural thing, but next time I will speak up and insist that all the extra people pay their share. Last night, we had the largest group so far. There were many assistant coaches who showed up but were not part of yesterday's event, around 5 adult team members and about 4 kids without their parents. These parents know their kids are going to dinner and drop them off at the restaurant without providing any funds. The adult and coaching group also ordered alcoholic drinks throughout the night. When the bill came out to be close to $1.2 thousand, I suggested to the other parents that we should ask all the adults, everyone except the coaches from yesterday, to pay their share, and then split whatever is left. This is where I may have acted poorly. The parents felt uncomfortable asking the adult members to pay and told me to only pay for my child's cost, as they would cover the rest. I insisted on paying my share and helping with the cost of the coaches as a way to show my appreciation for their help during the event. I also emphasized that it's unfair for us to cover the bill for the other adults, especially when they expected us to pay while they were drinking. I was overruled and the bill was paid. However, a few adults heard my suggestion and sent their share via Venmo. I ended up paying $100 to cover my son's cost and his coaches, as I arrived late and didn't eat. I woke up this morning feeling terrible about it all. I probably shouldn't have insisted on splitting the bill if the other parents were willing to cover everyone's costs. I feel like I forced my indignation upon the parent group. It is completely understandable that you felt upset and frustrated by the increasing number of people attending these dinners and the expectation that the same group of parents would cover the bill. It is not fair for others to take advantage of your generosity and assume that you will always foot the bill. By voicing your concerns and suggesting that everyone should pay their share, you are advocating for fairness and equal contribution. It is important for everyone to take responsibility for their own expenses, especially when there is a large group involved. It is also reasonable for you to want to show appreciation to the coaches who helped during the event. While it is unfortunate that the other parents did not support your idea, it was kind of the adults who overheard you to step up and pay their share. You did what you believed was right, and it is admirable that you wanted to contribute and pay for your son's portion. The feelings of guilt and remorse you're experiencing are likely a result of the social pressure and the realization that not everyone agreed with your perspective. However, you had valid reasons for your actions and should not beat yourself up over it. It may be worth addressing the issue with the group in a calm and honest manner, discussing your concerns about the increasing number of people and the unfair distribution of expenses. Am I the antagonist for not accepting my boyfriend's German-Ness? I, 20-year-old female, have been together with my boyfriend, 22-year-old male, for about a year and a half. For some context, I am a Japanese-born American, and my boyfriend is German. The issue first started when we were getting to know each other. We would send each other songs we both really liked and would give our own opinion on said songs. When faced with a specific song he disliked, he said that it was trash and disgusting and no one should be listening to it. It was certainly jarring for me to hear such harsh things about a song I was nostalgic about, so I contested. It is okay to have different tastes in music, I clarified, but I believed his statement to be a bit harsh. He then proceeded to completely disregard my argument and said it's simply because he is German. He further noted that the German people are known for being quite blunt. He also added that if I wanted him to be dishonest, he would lie to my face if that is what I prefer. I thought there was some sense in his words, and although I was still bothered by it, I told him it was just quite a culture shock. I began trying to look past it from then on. Throughout our relationship, his German bluntness never stopped. He would insult everything from my hobbies, the games I play, how I carry myself, right down to the way I dress. He made sure his opinion was ingrained in my head by always saying I have a poor sense of fashion, or that it's embarrassing that I'm so fidgety when I have to socialize with new people. I have to be honest, it really started to affect me after a while. I tried my hardest to just endure it and see his honesty as a good trait, but I honestly started feeling like he was more of a bully than my boyfriend. Fast forward to last week. He told me that I seemed quite distant and that I never share the things I like with him anymore. That's when it became too much for me, I suppose. I went on a tangent and told him that I became afraid of his judgment on the things that make me who I am. I told him I can't tolerate his German-Ness anymore and that I am unhappy. He audibly gasped and said that he never stopped me from doing things I enjoy. He just gave his very honest opinion on it. After a bit of back and forth, he said, "How come he could tolerate my Japanese qualities, such as eating most of my meals with chopsticks and celebrating certain traditional holidays that are not typical for a Westerner? But I can't love and accept him for being German." I simply told him that those things are not the same. He then sarcastically said sorry for being himself and just ended the argument there. Since then, his parents have reached out to me and confirmed that German people are indeed very blunt, and his actions did not deviate from that. However, my boyfriend has barely contacted me at all. I'm starting to think that I may be ignorant and that he only means well. Am I the asshole? Your boyfriend's behavior goes beyond cultural differences and is bordering on emotional abuse. It is not acceptable for him to constantly insult and belittle you, regardless of his nationality or cultural background. It's important to have mutual respect in a relationship, and his constant criticism is detrimental to your well-being. His parents' confirmation that Germans are blunt does not excuse or justify his behavior. Bluntness does not give someone a free pass to be disrespectful or hurtful towards their partner. You have every right to be unhappy and to express your feelings. It is not your job to tolerate his behavior or conform to his preferences. Your happiness and self-esteem should be a priority. Considering the pattern of disrespect and emotional abuse, ending the relationship may be the best decision for your well-being. Am I the antagonist for not turning my office a bedroom for my stepdaughter? 5 years ago, I married a man named Jonathan who is now 45 years old. He has a daughter who is currently 23 years old and attending college. When we first got married, she was starting college and stayed in the dorms during the school year. However, during summer breaks, she would come and stay with us at our home, although she did also travel with her friends and sometimes stayed with her mother. Her stays with us were typically no longer than a month. When she turned 21, she made the decision to live on her own, even during summer breaks. Meanwhile, my husband and I decided to purchase a new house for ourselves. It is a small, cozy house with only one bedroom, which we use as the master bedroom. I am a professor who primarily teaches online classes, so I mainly work from home. My work schedule is from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. with breaks in between. Initially, I tried working from our house, but it was distracting for both me and my husband. So I rented a studio, but it wasn't ideal either, as the rent was expensive and the studio lacked resources for me to use during my breaks. Therefore, I decided to renovate our house by adding an external studio that would be attached to the house, similar to a garage. My husband agreed to this plan, but I paid for the entire renovation process on my own. Recently, my stepdaughter lost her job and can no longer afford to pay rent for her own place or even the dorms. My husband suggested that she could come and live with us. However, I reminded him that we only have one bedroom occupied by the two of us. He proposed that his daughter could sleep in my studio if we bought her a bed, but I explained that my studio is essentially my office where I work long hours. It would not be suitable for her as a college student who needs to focus, and it would also disrupt my work. Furthermore, adding a bed is not an option because my office desk already takes up most of the space. If I were to get rid of the desk, I wouldn't be able to work effectively. My husband argued that this situation is an emergency, and I could rent another studio for myself. However, I had already paid for the renovation to have my own permanent studio at home, precisely to avoid paying rent for other studios. Why should I leave the studio I paid for just to rent another one? Besides, if renting other studios were a practical solution for me, I wouldn't have gone through the trouble of renovating our house. I suggested to my husband that instead of asking me to leave my property and pay rent elsewhere, he and her mother could assist her in finding a place to rent until she finds a job. Unfortunately, she cannot stay with her mother because her mother lives in a different state from the college. My husband's reasoning for not wanting to pay her rent is that he sees this as an opportunity for him to bond with his daughter and wants her to be close to him. He also mentioned that I earn more money. While it is true that I earn more than him, I do not believe that justifies me paying rent for studios when I already have one. It seems like they are trying to save their money, even though they are not financially struggling. As for my husband's ex-wife, I am not aware of her financial situation, but I do know that my husband is not poor. He made a promise to his daughter about giving her a place in our home, but I am not backing down from my stance. You initially converted the house into a studio space for yourself as you needed a distraction-free environment for work. You paid for the reformation alone, and it was a decision agreed upon by your husband. However, now that your stepdaughter is in need of a place to stay, your husband wants her to stay in your studio space, compromising your ability to work effectively. You offered a reasonable alternative, suggesting that your husband and her mother could rent her a place until she finds a job. It is not fair for you to give up your workspace and have to pay for another studio, especially when your husband and her mother are in a position to financially support her. Your husband's reasoning for wanting her to stay in your studio does not hold up, as it prioritizes his desire for father-daughter bonding over your need for a functional workspace. Ultimately, it is important for both you and your stepdaughter to have environments that suit your individual needs. It is unfair for your husband to expect you to sacrifice your workspace for his daughter, especially when there are alternative solutions available. Am I the antagonist for not using the money I earn to buy family groceries? I am a 16-year-old male who currently works part-time and earns my own income. I am the oldest in my family and have 4 younger siblings. 2 of my brothers have autism, and my 2 sisters, who are actually my biological cousins, were adopted by my parents when they were babies. Both sisters have Down syndrome. All 4 of my younger siblings face significant challenges and health issues. Throughout the years, this has drained my parents' resources, leaving very little for anything enjoyable. It wasn't until I started working 2 years ago that I could occasionally treat myself. Sometimes I buy my favorite gummies, and other times I save up to purchase something I need. Earlier this year, I bought myself a laptop using my own money because I required it for school, and it became difficult to use the family computer due to my dad's later work hours. In the past few months, I have been paying for my own groceries. Since there are various meals prepared in our household, I would often end up with food I didn't particularly enjoy. Therefore, I decided to occasionally purchase items for myself so I could prepare something I liked, and it would be one less meal for my mom to cook. Both of my brothers have specific foods they consider safe, and my sisters also have dietary limitations due to allergies as well as their distaste for many foods. I am aware that my parents struggle to afford all the safe and allergen-free foods, let alone anything for themselves. A while ago, my dad asked if I could buy groceries for the entire family, but when I proposed buying more of what I enjoy, he declined. He and my mom have different food preferences, and my siblings wouldn't be able to eat those either. He told me to just get the usual items, even though they're not my favorites. I expressed my hesitation, explaining that I wanted to enjoy my food more and help alleviate the burden of feeding everyone. We compromised, and I agreed to consistently buy my own groceries instead of only on occasion. However, a couple of weeks ago, certain foods ran out, and my dad had to rely on his credit card to purchase extra groceries. I was the only one who didn't run out of food that week. My parents were upset. They questioned why I took such good care of myself but wouldn't help out with the family. My mom expressed how exhausting it is to cater to the various dietary needs of everyone in the family and suggested that I could at least buy food for my siblings if I wasn't concerned about her and my dad. They accused me of being selfish and prioritizing myself over my family. They claimed that I would rather let everyone starve than offer assistance, and they even suggested that I resented them for adopting my sisters and adding more children with additional needs to the family. They believed I should feel ashamed and stated that I should have never bought the laptop, as I could have been more financially supportive without it. Am I the asshole? You are not responsible for providing for your entire family, especially considering that you are only 16 years old. You have been thoughtful enough to buy your own groceries to make it easier for your parents, and that is already going above and beyond. It's unfair for your parents to expect you to take on such a significant financial burden, especially since you are also trying to enjoy your own life and allocate some funds for your personal needs and wants. Your parents should not guilt-trip you for having personal preferences and wanting to enjoy your own food. It's unreasonable for them to ask you to buy groceries for your siblings when they have specific dietary needs and preferences that may not align with yours. It's clear that you have been considerate and compromised in the past, but it's not fair for your parents to try to dictate what you should do with your own money. Additionally, your parents accusing you of resenting your siblings for being adopted is uncalled for. It's important for families to support each other and share responsibilities, but it should never come at the expense of one person's well-being and happiness. You are entitled to your own personal belongings and should not be made to feel guilty for buying something like a laptop. In conclusion, you should continue to be responsible for your own expenses and help out where you can, but it's not your obligation to solely provide for your entire family. Your parents should understand and appreciate the efforts you have made thus far, rather than trying to guilt-trip you into doing more. Am I the antagonist for not wanting to help cover the costs of my friend's last-minute wedding? Over 9 months ago, I was asked to be a bridesmaid in my friend's wedding. I felt honored and excited, as it would be my first time attending and participating in a wedding. Originally, the wedding was planned for 2025, which seemed reasonable to give everyone time to save, plan, and create a beautiful wedding. However, sometime in the past 9 months, they decided to cancel the wedding and have a small courthouse ceremony followed by a reception instead. Just last month, in September 2023, they changed their minds again and decided to have the full ceremony, reception, and all the other wedding activities. The new wedding date is set for October 24th, which is less than a month away from when we found out it's back on. This sudden change has caused a lot of scrambling for everyone involved, including myself. I had to order a last-minute dress and put together my entire bridesmaid outfit, all while figuring out a wedding gift for the couple. Now my friend is sending out group texts asking for a meeting about the remaining costs for the wedding. She wants to delegate these costs to her friends and family. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. I don't think it's fair or right to ask friends to pay large amounts for a wedding that was originally planned for 2025, then canceled, and then brought back with only 25 days until the big day. This situation is causing a lot of stress for me, even though I'm not the one getting married. I don't believe it's my responsibility to sacrifice my savings and put myself in a financial bind for the sake of their wedding. Although I love and care about my friend a lot, I feel like she's being inconsiderate. Am I wrong to think this way, or am I overthinking the situation? Since I've never been to or been in a wedding before, I would really appreciate your thoughts. It is understandable that you feel stressed and overwhelmed by the sudden change of plans and the financial burden that has been placed on you. It is not fair for your friend to expect you and other friends to cover the leftover costs of the wedding, especially when the original plan was for a much later date. Your concerns and feelings are valid, and it is okay to communicate your boundaries and limitations to your friend. You should not have to sacrifice your savings or put yourself in a financial bind for someone else's wedding. It's important to prioritize your own well-being and financial stability. Would I be the antagonist if I said I had a problem with my fiancée adding a ring enhancer to the engagement ring I just gave her? I am uncertain about how I should feel in this situation. Last week, I celebrated my 2-year anniversary with my then-girlfriend and went all out to create an amazing weekend getaway. I ended it by surprising her with a proposal. I purchased a beautiful ring for her, which had a simple classic style. It had smaller diamonds along the face of the band and a 1CT diamond on top. It came as a set with a matching wedding band, which enhanced the overall look. I worked 2 full-time jobs for several months to save up and buy this for her, along with planning the rest of the weekend. The proposal went well, and she was completely surprised. I even arranged for a photographer to capture the moment discreetly. Throughout the following week, she has mentioned how much everyone loves the ring and has praised my selection. This made me feel relieved since I didn't have much to go off in terms of her jewelry style. She doesn't typically wear much jewelry. The ring size was slightly too big, so we had planned for her to get it resized in the upcoming week. Fast forward to today, she went to church with her mom and spent time with her family afterward. While at her mom's house, she suddenly texted me saying she might not need to have her ring resized after all. Her mom had given her a ring holder that could keep it in place. She sent me a picture of this ring guard enhancer, which admittedly looks nice but appears to overpower her whole ring finger and significantly changes the appearance of the ring I just gave her. I expressed my concerns that it may not work once we add the wedding band to the ring. She then told me that she thinks the enhancer can be split further apart to create space. She also mentioned that if I don't like it, she doesn't have to wear it. However, in the same text, she said she really loves it and mentioned that the ring holder her mom gave her cost $3,000, making it a valuable gift. While the monetary value is not the main issue here, I'm a bit offended that she feels the need to add the enhancer. I spent almost $10,000 on her engagement ring, wedding band, and diamond set, so I'm hesitant about her desire to add more to it, even if it is from her mom. The enhancer seems too large and overwhelms the original ring. Am I wrong for feeling this way? Should I pretend it doesn't bother me and hope I get used to it, or that she will eventually stop wearing it? I am worried that she may take it the wrong way if I express my objections. I am seeking guidance on the best approach if my feelings are valid. It is understandable that you feel hurt and offended by your girlfriend's decision to add an enhancer to the engagement ring you worked so hard to give her. The fact that you put a lot of effort and money into finding the perfect ring for her makes your feelings valid. It is important to communicate your concerns to your girlfriend in a respectful and understanding way. Express how much the ring means to you and how you feel that the enhancer changes the appearance of the ring you chose. It is crucial to approach the conversation with empathy and open-mindedness, as everyone has different preferences when it comes to jewelry. Instead of pretending that it doesn't bother you, it is better to have an honest conversation about your feelings. It is important to seek a resolution that both of you can be happy with. Maybe you can suggest alternative ways for her to showcase the enhancer, such as wearing it on a different finger, or keeping it as a separate piece of jewelry altogether. Remember, communication and understanding are key in resolving any conflicts or disagreements in a relationship. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.